we're going to go live now because we messed up because of the music. So we'll go live and then we'll say what I just said. And who knows? Maybe the music will play now. Let's see if the music is going to play. We'll try it one more time, folks. Sorry for the mix-up if you're on the radio, but let's see if we are going to do music or no music here this afternoon. Hey, I'm Ann Eller. This is WCRS Radio. We are live on Facebook Live, WCRS, and we're live on the radio. Check, check, check. We have Anthony Price here. As I was saying, Penny is going to go chase tennis balls because she said, you guys, Anthony Price, Executive Director of Pathway House, and you, Ann, can talk about brain health all you want. My brain is just fine. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our very special guest today. Anthony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Ann, and you just passed, a cognitive test, because I watched the cognitive strain as everything started going wrong. I heard you say, keep calm, and then you solved the problem. You just passed a cognitive test. So I'm
so glad. I'm so glad. You know, this is going to be a fascinating discussion, and I teased it this morning by saying that there are things that we can do to preserve our brain health and to give ourselves brain health. So, Anthony, what do you want to tell us here this afternoon? This is a requested appearance by you on brain health.
Yes. So let's start. I want to lay a foundation here for our conversation. So if you don't get anything else, this will help. Okay. Number one, the brain is in a constant state of flux. Okay. Your brain is a complex system and it does not stay the same. Matter of fact, your body doesn't stay the same. So you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You're getting healthier or you're getting unhealthier. Your brain is doing the same thing. It's always changing. So the old analogy that you can't teach an old dog new tricks is not true. Give me an old dog and a hot dog and I can teach that dog a trick, right?
Right.
We can teach old men new tricks, and it because your brain is constantly changing. And brain health depends on rhythms, not isolated interventions. Okay, so you can't. I've been for a day now this old TV commercial of the mechanic going, "You can pay me now, or you can pay me later."
Right.
Okay, and because we try to wait and then do an intervention, but brain health needs rhythms. It needs regular. A rhythm is this repeated pattern, and that's what brain health needs. And here's one that a lot of people don't know. I've said this to several people, and they're like, do what? The brain produces its own insulin. Okay, so brain-produced insulin is slightly different than pancreas insulin, and this will be important in our conversation. And then the last thing to remember is the brain. We think of the brain as a thinking organ, but it is actually a relational organ, okay? Thinking is a small part of what the brain does, but the brain is more about relationships than it is anything else. So those are kind of some foundations that we're going to work off of as we go along, because cognitive deterioration is avoidable even if you have markers for Alzheimer's.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
Is that true?
We're going to get there. Okay. So let's start, I think.
Right.
Because I think we should talk about what is normal brain aging. Okay. Because if you don't know what normal is, then what's abnormal is a little hard. Okay. So around age 30, we start to lose our working memory in our mind, okay? Many of us know this, okay? So you start to have a hard time holding on to temporary information, okay? So like when you say, well, after I finish this, I need to go do that.
And you forget what
and
it
then
is.
you forget what that was. Okay, that's normal, okay? That is normal. And multitasking becomes more difficult because multitasking requires you to hold on to short-term information. That's normal after age 30, but here's what we need to know. Starting after age 40, you lose 5% of your overall brain volume per decade. Okay?
Oh my God,
so,
I don't have any left.
I'm down 10%. Okay, I'm in my 60s. I'm down 10%. Okay, and that is normal. Okay, but we were talking before the show about concussions, and when your brain gets smaller, it's got more room to wobble around in your head, which is why older people struggle with concussions, because your brain, this is a normal part of aging. But what that means is it does take longer to learn something new. Okay, you can teach an old dog new tricks, but it's going to take longer than a new dog, and it's going to take longer to recall information. So we've all been there, where it takes us a little while to remember something.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the interesting thing. Procedural memory remains intact.
What do you mean? What is procedure?
So procedural memory is like the things you do out of habit, or like how to hit a baseball, how to swing a tennis racket, how to play golf, or in Ann's case, how to push the right buttons to get everything to work, is a procedural memory that you do without. So we learned in the military, it takes 3,000 repetitions to build muscle memory. So you will do something without even thinking about it if you've practiced. That will always stay with you. So an old veteran can remember how to do stuff and not even know he's done that. So riding a bike is a great example. If you know how to ride a bike when you're 80, you may not should be riding a bike, but you can still ride a bike. You can ride a stationary bike. How about that? Okay. But here's the thing about normal brain aging. Cognitive deterioration, where it's being destroyed, is avoidable. Okay. It is not normal aging. Dementia is not normal brain aging. Okay. Dementia.
Are you getting ready to sell us some pills or something here? Because it sounds like we might be an infomercial here.
And I'm just going to tell you, if you're looking for a quick fix, you might as well cut the radio off right now, okay? Because there's no quick fixes to anything. Okay, your brain is a complex system, and complex systems have multiple factors, okay? But see, dementia is caused by structural and biochemical damage within the brain. Okay, so you hear all these different types of dementia, Alzheimer's. Well, the name of the type of dementia actually defines the cause. Okay, so each named dementia has a different cause. That's where the name comes from. So they're all dementia. They're all is structural and biochemical damage. Okay. But what caused it, and that's one of the factors. And so we're going to kind of look dementia generally. This will be very specific just because of what I'm going to talk about to Alzheimer's, which I know is a concern for a lot of people. And look, I watched my stepfather. I mean, that's what took his life, was Alzheimer's. And so I know a lot of people that are really worried. And so we've got great genetic marker tests that they can do to see if you have genetic risks for some type of dementia. But here's the thing, and I'm just going to quote the really, really smart guy that taught a lot of my classes, that data is unequivocally clear that lifestyle modifies all of those risk markers. Now, modifies means it changes. If you have a bad lifestyle, you're enhancing that risk. If you have a good lifestyle, you're reducing that risk. And he basically said his mother-in-law got Alzheimer's. His wife had the markers. So he launched on this quest to learn. And what he learned was, it's very clear from a lot of studies that it is not, even if you have the markers, Alzheimer's or dementia is not an absolute. Okay, you can prevent it if you do the right things.
Then just to play devil's advocate here, that why aren't more people why isn't more of this known or talked about? I mean, why do we have so many people, Alzheimer's, ending up in units and being taken care and all this kind of stuff? Because
we are all horrible patients and we don't do what we need to do. Because I'm going to tell you, when we get to how to prevent this, I am not going to tell you anything your high school health teacher did not tell you. I can almost guarantee you.
Wow.
Okay, and it's but we don't look. I watched my dad. Okay, my dad passed away from the results of his diabetes that he would not control.
Right.
And I know multiple people, I've had multiple clients that know they have diabetes that are actually having to deal with it, and you cannot get them to eat the right food. They will continue to eat. And because we won't control ourselves,
Right.
we just accelerate down this path that goes along. And I can tell people, look, the next thing we're going to talk about is what are some of the causes of this diet problem. And we just keep, because this is what we've always done. See, the brain loves what it's always done. And it fights to keep doing what it's comfortable doing. Okay, look, I know what it's like to quit eating sugar. I quit sugar, and I had withdrawal symptoms because sugar is as addictive as crack cocaine. Studies will show.
Yeah.
I had horrible headaches when I started coming off of sugar because your body craves sugar until you get it out of your system. So.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, some days I can tell, I'll just crave, I'll just want something sweet, or I'll just want, I'll crave different things different days, and I think that's my body telling me I need something,
or that it wants something.
Right, yeah.
Not necessarily needs something.
Right.
But wants something. Yeah, and so I think for today, we'll probably need to stick, because we've got a limited amount of time, to the diet factors that lead to dementia. Because, look, if you have traumatic brain injuries, you have concussions, that's another risk level. If you have childhood trauma, that's another risk level. If you have toxic stress in your life, constant high stress, that's another risk level. We just don't have time to get into all the variables.
So we'll do one thing, and then we'll come back and talk about maybe another one.
But I will just tell you, if you're like me, a veteran who had some childhood trauma, and you probably have some traumatic brain injuries from explosives exposure,
right.
I need to be real serious about the other part, because my clock is ticking, I think. So I don't know.
So how do you feel about getting with the program then?
Well, I'm on the program, but I was on the program not realizing I was on the program until I took this class, because I was on the program because I watched my dad. I watched them repeatedly amputate pieces off of his legs until he passed away, and I said, I will never make my kids do this. And so I went on an insulin resistance diet so that I didn't get there. But then I realized after getting this certificate, oh, hey, that's a brain health, because insulin resistance is a major factor in this dementia and brain health. And if you read online, it is everywhere about insulin resistance.
Well, I think first, we haven't really talked about this, but why are you able to talk on this? You have become certified.
Yeah, so I'm a board certified master mental health coach, so my specialization is in crisis response and trauma care. But when we started treating our clients
At Pathway
House, there was just things I couldn't answer. And see, that's always driven me. I need to understand. Understanding is the basis of care. What you want to take care of, you need to understand. So we've tried some different classes, and I had an opportunity to get a scholarship to do this brain health and neuroscience coaching, and I jumped, and this has been phenomenal, because now that I understand how the brain works to a small level, I'm better able to help our clients. So I'm now a certified brain health coach, and I'm a coach, so I'm not. This is not clinical. I don't give medications. That's not what I do. Everything is about coaching. Everything is about helping you do what you need to do,
making choices.
Yes.
Which is what you do at Pathway
Yes.
House in helping your clients.
Yes.
You don't give them, you need to do this. You help them identify what they need, and then try to open up the doors.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's where I am, and a lot of this came. I mean, I've spent a week digging back through my big old binder of all my information and trying to bring this down to a level, because there were times even I'm having to pause and figure out, okay, wait a minute, I just need to go research before I take the next class. I got to understand this. So, yeah, and I'm just, what I've learned is American lifestyle is killing us, to be honest. We've become so focused on convenience that convenient foods that you can just take out of the freezer and throw in the microwave are, even if they were healthy when they went in the factory, are some kind of something else now that they came out on the other side. But that's what we all want, and it's really messing with us. So.
Well, it's the same thing as our cell phones messing with our ability to communicate, right?
Oh, yeah.
Kids want to text each other rather than have a conversation or put that cell phone down. Yeah. I suppose exercise is part of that too, being on your feet and moving and doing stuff. Yeah,
and scrolling is not good for your brain. Let me just tell you, it trains your brain to operate differently than it should, and it just messes up. You need instant stuff, and then when we have to wait 5 minutes, we can't get. See, but that is, you've trained your brain by scrolling through information. So there was a whole class on the digital brain and how electronics and especially social media are messing with our brain. So.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, I had to do all these affidavits and stuff for the radio station, for political ads and everything. And I had done a few with ChatGPT, and it was easy, and it was good and everything. So then we go through, and I have a bunch now to do. And so I'm talking to Chatty over here, and we're going through all this stuff. I got so frustrated because, no, we've got to go back and do this. I'm sorry, I guess I didn't tell you this, and yada, yada, yada. By the time I got finished, I was just, why can't you just do it? And when I slowed down and said, okay, this is it, we've got to do it this way, I was okay. Yeah. But yeah.
See? And
instant, yes. Get this job done. Yes. Yep. So, we're talking with Anthony Price today. If you've got a question or a comment, we're live on Facebook. We're already getting some comments on Facebook. We're on WCRS Radio with Anthony Price, Executive Director of Pathway House. And you can also text. You can text or call 864-332-9355. We're talking about, yes, you can help yourself from getting Alzheimer's. This is just unbelievable, because I think this information may be out there, but a lot of people don't realize it. Yeah.
No, and it's cloaked in big scientific words that make it very difficult to understand is the problem. So, and it's not helpful. So let's kind of talk about this insulin resistance thing that we were talking about.
About the brain, on the brain. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but again, so the brain produces its own insulin, but brain-produced insulin is neuroprotective. It actually helps protect your brain. So it kind of multitasks in the brain. And so insulin resistance is really called impaired insulin signaling. Okay, what that means is the cells don't respond properly to insulin when it shows up. Like things get out of calibration, and the cells won't let the insulin in. Okay, so what happens is if the insulin is messed up, the glucose can't enter the cells, and all of that glucose stays in your bloodstream, which causes you to have high blood sugar because it's not getting absorbed into the cells where it's being used. And it really starts to mess with your system, okay? But it's because you're getting too much insulin and it's overwhelming the sensors. And so what your brain does is it just tunes down the sensors, if that makes sense. Like if your radio's too loud and it hurts your ears, you turn it down. If the insulin's too much, the brain says, oh, I need to turn that down. And it starts to be resistant to the way things work, okay? And what that's caused by a high sugar diet, okay, or highly processed foods, which your body basically treats as sugar. So, but what happens with these processed foods is it creates something worse called sugar spikes, where you have this, and then all of a sudden your blood sugar spikes, and then 20 minutes later it drops, okay, everything's all out of whack, and this insulin's floating around out there going, what's going on? So the term hangry, if you don't eat sugar, you don't get hangry. Hangry is a low blood sugar response because your blood sugar's on a roller coaster, and when it gets down here, and what does the commercial say? Eat a Snickers bar, right?
Right.
Well, all that does is spike your sugar. See, but when your sugars are high and low, your emotions are high and low, your brain function is high and low, and everything's going crazy, okay? So here's our known causes of insulin resistance. A high sugar diet, okay? Too much sweet tea, too much high fructose corn syrup, too much highly processed foods. Even if they were healthy, they got broccoli and all this great stuff in them, before they put them in this frozen meal and called it healthy, it's not anymore. It's been altered, okay? Right. Physical inactivity, okay, will cause insulin resistance. Insufficient sleep. See, I'm talking American culture, right? Let's stay up. Let's sit around on my tablet and let's eat some sweets. Okay, chronic stress. Chronic stress leads to insulin resistance, and
now what's chronic stress?
So chronic stress means long term. Okay, acute stress is what Ann Eller suffered when the music wouldn't play, and she had about 20 seconds of acute stress, and she handled it like a champ. Chronic stress, workplace where everything is stressful, you're in an abusive household, long-term ongoing stress.
Okay.
The cortisol from the stress, just like trauma, causes you to have insulin resistance. That's why we didn't want to get into trauma and all of the brain health today. And then there are some medications that will cause, insulin resistance, like steroids are one. And then you were talking about Jeff when he was on chemo, and some of those will cause, but here's the thing. It is reversible. Even if you have it, it is reversible. You can resensitize those receptors by making the changes we're going to talk about. And I have watched people do it. I've watched people come off of all of their stuff and not have to take diabetes meds. Their A1C stays under, and they have a lot of positive health benefits once they get serious about their eating and their exercise, that we're all going to talk about in a few minutes.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
Okay, but then insulin resistance leads us to an even bigger problem. Okay, so what happens is when you have this insulin resistance, it starts to cause a progressive loss of the structure and function of the neurons in your brain. So
this is keeping this. You're saying resistance, meaning the cells are not allowed to have.
They're resisting the insulin. They're not receiving the right signal. So they're saying, I don't want it. Go away. If that makes sense, that's the resistance.
Okay.
It's actually impaired signaling. The cells aren't getting the right signal because your brain has said, well, there's too much, so let's turn this down a little bit.
Right.
It is a very simplified way of explaining it. So in your brain, in your neurons, the brain cells, the communication part of your brain, there's these things called microtubules, microtubes is an easy way, and it is exactly what it sounds like. Little tubes in your neurons, and they are basically the scaffolding that holds your neurons in place, So like they're the supportive skeleton, the scaffolding to your neurons. They help your neurons maintain the proper polarity, and then they allow the neurochemicals and stuff to move back and forth. So they're scaffolding to keep your neurons working. And then in those microtubules, there's this thing called tau protein. It's a protein, tau. It is like the pin. So if you've ever seen somebody put scaffolding together, they put it together and they put a big pin in it, right, to keep it in place. Tau protein is the pin that keeps the integrity but also makes it flexible. So what happens when you have insulin resistance, impaired insulin signaling, and you have these messed up levels in your brain, these phosphate groups, okay, attach to the tau protein, and they make the tau protein become unattached, like it backs the pins out of the scaffolding, okay? So if that makes, so when I have insulin resistance, the scaffolds lose their pin, and guess what happens to a scaffold when you take the safety pin out?
Falls apart.
They fall apart, okay? And so the tau detaches. When the microtubules collapse, the neuron dies. Now you're starting to see the insulin resistance from the high sugar causes my brain to collapse on itself, and when it collapses, the neuron dies, which is where the damage that leads to dementia comes from.
Well, they talk about Alzheimer's as your brain is dying, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes. And again, each type of dementia is based on what is causing the brain to die, if that makes sense. So the different ones all have a different cause, but that's how they identify them based on that. So, but all of them are cognitive deterioration. Your brain is deteriorating. It's dying. Okay. And here's the problem. When your neuron dies, it leaves all kinds of neurotoxins left behind. Okay. Which it takes us to the next problem that makes things worse. And it's this nice word, and I'm only going to use it one time, neuroinflammation. Okay. It's inflammation in the brain and the central nervous system. Okay. It's in all of that. So, when
it becomes like on fire.
Yeah, and swelling and So now in your brain, inflammation, in your body, normal inflammation, you get sick, you get an injury, it swells up, it heats up. That's normal. But when it becomes chronic, then when it's long lasting, then I have problems. So when the tau gets too many phosphate groups, okay, when the phosphorals get too high, it triggers your immune system to create inflammation, okay? So see how the sugar causes the tau to have a problem. The tau protein signals the immune system we've got a problem, and swelling and inflammation kicks in. But then the inflammation then accelerates the tau phosphorals. So now I've created the cycle where they're egging each other on. I'm now getting out of control, if that makes sense. It's kind of
like the hamster on the wheel.
Yes. Okay. So here's what happens. Inflammation in your brain disrupts the communication in the brain. It makes it really hard for the brain to communicate because the neurochemicals can't flow, the blood's not flowing right, but it also impairs the removal of neurotoxins. Okay, so that can be the dead neurons, but it can also be the artificial sweeteners you ate. It could be the stuff you breathed while you were outside next to the smoke. We get exposure through food and all kinds of area to toxins that when you get a good night's sleep, your brain cleans out, but now it can't because everything's all slowed down like a slow drain, and we can't get it out. And then chronic inflammation damages the neurons. So I was actually on researching, and I was on the Alzheimer's site, and they have on there that neuroinflammation actively accelerates the progression of dementia. So when you get to that, it's actually speeding up the process. But again, this is reversible. Okay, it is not too late to make changes.
Well, then why wouldn't places for people that have Alzheimer's and everything, why wouldn't they concentrate on the diet part and this type of thing? You just think about the quality of life, or how many people deal with a family member and they try to keep them at home and everything, and they just keep deteriorating to a point where they have to go somewhere. It sounds to me like, but again, it's a lot of work to do the diet and everything.
Yes.
But what an alternative.
And it's really hard.
Right.
And see, and that's just like us with our clients at Pathway. We're successful because we have a relationship and we help them walk through these hard things. But what do we want in America? We want convenience. I want to go to the doctor. You give me a pill that makes me feel better, and I'm going on. I want to go to the mental health provider. You give me a pill that helps my anxiety, but I don't want to make the changes that will get rid of my anxiety. I just want a pill so I can get by. I am very overweight. I don't want to change my diet. I just give me something I can inject to help me lose my weight. See, we don't want to do the hard work. And you and I both know when you have somebody that should be eating different, it's often very difficult to get these old codgers to eat right.
Well,
my dad, your husband, we were just having it is really hard. And it's hard. And think about it from a healthcare perspective. I mean, they're crank people through doctors' offices now.
Right.
I mean, they see more people than my doctor when I was a kid ever saw in a week. It's just the different. And so we want quick fixes, but there's not quick fixes. It's
one of the things you and I were talking, and this may be out of sequence here, but we were talking about when we were growing up, that you used to have to actually make a meal. You had to chop it. You didn't just get something instant. We were talking about the advent of TV dinners and what a future that was to the world changing. Not sitting at the dinner table having a conversation. Everybody just eating either on a TV table. Remember they had those TV trays. All these things changed society tremendously.
Yeah, and if you go watch an old music video from the 70s, everybody in that video was skinny. And we're not, because our food has changed.
Right.
I mean, look, you go to Europe and you get a Coke, it has real sugar in it and a lot less sugar than you would get here. But what do we use? High fructose corn syrup. Okay, I'm sorry. I have mashed, stepped on, eaten a lot of corn, and I never got any syrup to come out of it. It is a chemically processed that's put in there because it's cheaper. Profit is more important than health. Convenience is more important than anything else. That's why we want to go by what we think is a healthy meal, and it'll even have healthy in the name.
Right.
Throw it in the microwave, and it's ultra processed. And then I'm getting sugar spike, but I ate broccoli. Why do I feel this way? Well, because maybe you should have eaten like real broccoli.
Yeah.
And it's because, I mean, I'm laughing, you're talking, and I'm thinking a lot of nights I had to go dig my dinner. My dad would make it. You go out there and get the potatoes out of the garden, and you had to wash them and cut them, and because we ate food from a farm,
right,
not food from a factory.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's just when you think about these little things that have really become huge things in society. And, when you think about Alzheimer's, we had people that had senior moments and dementia, I guess, but not to the extent. I mean, extended families survived with taking care of someone that was slipping, but they still weren't in the stages that we see with Alzheimer's here today.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there are a lot of other causes. So and heck, look, even in the 70s and 80s, concussions, nobody, you know what I'm saying? He'll be all right. Yeah, you just put him back in, coach. He's all right. Yeah. He doesn't know his name, but put him back in.
Right.
I mean, we didn't take good care of ourselves, and we're going to talk about some things we were doing back then that are part of this. But it's just our convenient lifestyle, and I'm telling you, fast food. Okay, and this isn't brain health, but, well, I guess it is, because, I mean, fast food is associated with a 40% increased risk of depression. Because think about what you're getting when you go to McDonald's. Okay, it's a process. You say what you want. It's a process, okay?
Right.
I probably shouldn't do this. Look, my favorite place, Fat Daddy's, because Chris makes everything right there.
Right.
Zone sauces, and it didn't come in a can from a factory somewhere.
Exactly.
It's see, and it's different, and that's the way it used to be, and now you have to work really hard to find stuff that's not modified
the
some
old
way.
mom and pop restaurants that everybody used to go out to before we had all the McDonald's, the Burger Kings, etc. Yeah. So it does make a difference, and I think most everybody, if they were truly honest, say they feel much better when they eat better. You know.
And I saw, I forget who it was. It was an actor that said basically a lot of people eat to feel good, but I eat to feel good while they're eating, but I eat to feel good the rest of the day.
Right.
Well, that's kind of what I do. I mean, I like my food because now that I don't eat sugar and all this other stuff, the food tastes really good, but I'm eating so that I can go all day and not feel bad. But back when I used to eat all that junk, man, my blood sugar was constant, and like artificial sweeteners. See, the problem is they tell your taste buds, oh, here comes something sweet. Your taste buds tell your brain, send the insulin. But there's no sugar. So now I've got all this insulin, so guess what? It gobbles up all the sugar that's available, and then it needs more, which is why when you drink a diet drink, you get hungry after you drink a diet drink because it's tricking you. Yeah, see?
Zero sugar, but I don't get hungry after drinking this. I mean, just FYI, I don't know what it has in it. But
if you have any issues with insulin and family history of diabetes, it's so. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things we drink, and I always joke, sweet tea down here is like pancake syrup.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's got a lot of sugar, and if it's commercial, it's high fructose corn syrup. It's not even sugar. So, which is a chemically processed thing.
So the biggest thing that we've learned so far is that you can help yourself just by really fixing food, really making food.
Yes. Well, and I have, great segue, I have what I call the 4 cornerstones of brain health, okay? Now, when I learned it, they called it the 3 pillars, like a 3-legged stool, but I think one of the lifestyle factors is so important, I separated it out, okay? So there's 4 things you can work on that support optimal brain function and reduce your risk for decline. Number 1, exercise. It is the most powerful intervention for brain health.
Well, I mean, what kind of exercise? We got to be on a treadmill
or
what?
We're going to get there. Okay. We're going to get there.
All
so
right,
let me get my 4 in. Okay. Number 2 is nutrition. Okay. Because diet, you are what you eat, literally. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 3 is sleep. Sleep is essential for brain maintenance and renewal.
That's my problem right there.
Okay, but sleep is really important. That's why I separated it out. And then there's these other lifestyle factors that we're going to kind of cover in a little bit, but for many of us, lifestyle factors are the ones we really need to be paying attention to.
Well, let's talk about sleep. How much sleep do you actually need? Because I run very, very shy on sleep.
Well, let me jump ahead. Okay,
I'm
you're
sorry.
with me.
You're
good.
I
can go there. Okay. All right. Look, here's the thing. Sleep occurs in 90-minute cycles.
Okay.
We have this strange idea that you're supposed to go to bed and sleep all night.
Right.
Sleep occurs in 90-minute cycles.
So the
What's
naps
more important is the number of cycles versus the hours of sleep.
Okay. Well, I could work with this.
And here, I'll give you a great one. And I learned this in this class, and then I started digging. Okay, before the advent of electric lights, and in any place where they still do not have electricity, you have what's known as first sleep and second sleep. People go to bed when the sun goes down, and about midnight they get up, they turn on a lamp or a lantern, and for an hour or 2 they do things, and then they go back to bed and they sleep till dawn. If you read Shakespeare talked about first sleep, second sleep. Very common practice until we got electric lights, and now we can stay up later and then we sleep the night through, but that's, your body runs in 90-minute cycles. So if you're waking up every 90 minutes, it's okay.
So, but how many 90-minute cycles do they say you need?
Well, so it should, and I didn't put that in my note. I actually have it at how many you need, okay? But here's the thing about sleep. So in these cycles, you have what's called deep sleep. Now, when you go into deep sleep,
they call that REM sleep?
No, REM is after deep sleep. So you go into this deep sleep.
Right.
That's when your brain does its physical restoration. Okay, so it's clearing the waste, it's repairing cells, and actually in your intestines doing the same thing, and it's boosting your immune function. Deep sleep is longer in the first half of the night and then less in the second half of the night. So deep sleep occurs more in the first half of the night. Then the third stage is REM sleep, which is your cognitive restoration. That's when your memories are being processed and filed away, and that's also helps with your emotional regulation. REM sleep is longer in the second half of the night, shorter in the first half of the night. So for brain health, deep sleep is more important than REM sleep because your brain is performing physical maintenance. It is taking care of itself and repairing things and cleaning out the junk. If you're studying for an exam, you need more REM sleep so you can file all those memories. So staying up all night studying for exams is a horrible idea because you won't remember it because you didn't have time to file it away. So going to bed early is better than sleeping late because you get more deep sleep in the first half of the night and more REM sleep in the second half of the night.
So I could say when I have dinner and then I've done a few things and then Penny and I lay down for a while and then we get up and work for a while, that's not so bad.
No, that's actually was the old norm. First sleep and second sleep.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that in places where there is no electricity, that was how we did it. And Shakespeare wrote about it. I mean, there's a lot of story. They would get up and turn on. You went to bed when the sun went down, and then you slept for a while, and then you got up and did some stuff, and then you went back to sleep.
I do that every night.
That is actually a normal sleep pattern.
Oh, my God. I'm more normal than I thought.
Yeah.
We're here with Anthony Price. He's the executive director of Pathway House. We're talking about brain health. How can you stave off some of the things that we fear the most when we're talking about Alzheimer's, dementia, and this type of thing? So we've just talked about sleep because everybody always tells me, Anthony, you don't get enough sleep, Ann. But that is actually what I do.
It's about cycles. Yeah. It's not about hours slept. Okay.
Wow.
It's quality.
I feel so much better now.
Okay. Look, what did Ben Franklin say?
I don't know.
Well, he wrote, "Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise."
Yes.
Okay. When you stay up late, you're depriving your brain of deep sleep. My kids should be listening. You're depriving your brain of the thing it needs to restore itself physically, okay, and sleeping later, okay, so that's and here's some things to avoid since we jumped to this one.
I'm sorry. Yes.
No, it's okay. Caffeine, close to bedtime.
Right.
Alcohol, close to bedtime, impairs your deep sleep. Screen time and bright lights prior to setting in a bright light for an hour or two before. So you want to dim the lights. You want to stay off the screens, okay? And like me, okay, I used to be able to drink coffee when I was in the Army and just fall asleep. Now at 2:30, I have my last cup and I got to quit because the older you get, it takes longer to process the caffeine. But okay, sleep is really, really important because your brain does maintenance and it cannot do it while you're awake. It's so busy doing awake things, it needs you to shut off so it can do sleep things.
So when we're so impressed with Chat GPT and this other things, we really ought to be impressed with our own brains.
Yes.
I mean,
because
seriously.
It was somebody's brain that created Chat GPT, right?
Right, yes. Yeah. But, I mean, the idea that we think we're not capable, but you're just explaining what fabulous things our brains do if we allow them to do them.
We have no idea. That the guy that was, he just kept saying, the more I learn I don't know. and this is a guy that's a doctor, a psychiatrist that's studied neuroscience, and he just kept saying, the more I learn, the more I learn I don't know about the brain. It has so many functions. It can do so many things, and you can damage one part of your brain, and other parts of your brain will take over. That's why people that go blind have enhanced senses,
right?
Because your brain does that. That's real.
Sure.
It's an amazing organ. I mean, and we have no concept. We've just begun to understand this process. Okay.
All right. So we
so
can go back and talk. Yeah, I'm sorry. Get back on
that's
track.
That's good, because now that Ann feels better about her first sleep, second sleep, you're very Shakespearean now. So
right, everybody's always on my ass about how much I sleep or don't sleep. So yes, this has been very therapeutic for me.
Normal. So. In that way, there's nothing wrong with it, because 90 minutes. Because I used to stress. I would wake up, my back, I got to turn over, and I'm like, man, I wake up all night. Well, then I started looking at the clock, and guess what? I would sleep a cycle. When I got the light sleep, my body would go, okay, let's roll over because my back hurts, and that's normal. So don't stress if every 90 minutes you're waking up. That means you finished the cycle, and now you're going to start over again. And we old men, every 90 minutes, we might have to get up and go potty or something.
Right,
I don't know if I drank too much water before I went to bed. So, okay. So let's talk about exercise. Okay. And my clients get so tired of hearing me say this. I am on them all the time about exercise. Okay. Exercise is, there's a quote, and I didn't put it in here. That guy said, if exercise could be bottled in pill form, it would be the most widely prescribed drug in the world for its numerous health benefits. But we want a drug, and we don't want to go work out, okay? So here's the thing about exercise. It is a powerful neuroprotective strategy, okay? It will protect your brain, and we're going to talk about that. It stress-proofs your body. The reason we did so much PT in the military was it taught you how to deal with stress. So in a stressful situation, so if you're in a stressful environment, work out, okay? Because it helps your body adapt to other stresses.
Well, doesn't it release?
Oh, yeah, all kinds of endorphins and all kinds of stuff. And it improves your sleep quality. And I tell our clients this all the time. I said, if you go get and put in a good day's work, you sleep real good, right? Oh, yeah. And if you sit around all day, you can't sleep at night, right? See, if you exercise, I don't have any problem going to sleep at night because I get up early in the morning on my rhythm, okay? And exercise reduces your baseline cortisol level. Cortisol is the stress hormone that's neurotoxic, that damages the brains and the bones and the joints and all kinds of stuff that's trauma. Well, guess what? Exercise resets that level. Okay, it helps your body reset back to normal.
Well, what do you need for exercise, though?
So, and then exercise, it needs to be continuous activity. Look, so the question that people ask, well, what is the best exercise? And the best answer I've heard is the one you enjoy doing. Okay?
Right. Could
be walking, it could be biking, but if you're doing an exercise that you don't like to do, it's stressful.
That's true.
So if you told me, I need you to go over to the Y and get on one of those bikes and pedal it for 20 minutes, I am going to hate the entire 20 minutes. I'm thinking, I got a bike in my garage. I can go ride around my neighborhood. Right. I'm not sitting here watching TV pedaling a bike. Now, my neighbor, she bikes she's in her 80s. She bikes some crazy number of miles during the week at the Y. And she loves it.
Right.
And is sharp as a tack. But it's because that's what she loves to do. I tell the clients, look, go walk. Here, one of the lifestyle factors we're going to talk about. Your body needs 20 minutes of sunlight exposure a day, okay? There are parts of your cells that need all of the light that comes from the sun. Mm-hmm. Look, you can sit by a window and get sunlight exposure, but sitting under artificial lights all day is not good for you. You need 20 minutes of exercise, okay? So go walk for 20 minutes in the sun. Guess what?
Not
You're getting
midnight.
2 positive benefits instead of 1, okay? So that's why I've been joking that Penny is Ann's brain health coach because she
Absolutely.
makes Ann go walk every day.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
and it's good. So. And I just read this study. It was on Medical News Today. They did a big study, and here's what they said. Exercise is 1.5 times more effective than medication or counseling for anxiety, depression, and stress. And I know that they did a study with veterans in combat trauma that exercise is more effective than medication for PTSD. And here's the interesting one.
Wow.
It's more effective than exercise and medication for PTSD. Exercise is one of the most important things you can do. So now let's bring it into what does exercise do for the brain, okay? Because this is the important part. Number one, it turns on the proteins in your brain. It switches them on that make new neurons, okay? Because your brain is making, so it's telling your brain, okay, let's make some new neurons, which is a good thing. It turns on the different proteins that keep your neurons healthy, okay? So you're now making new neurons. You're keeping the old ones healthy. It rebuilds and expands neural pathways. So now you're getting more connections, so your brain is getting stronger. Here's the really important one. It increases blood flow to the brain, okay, which then improves insulin sensitivity and improves the removal of the neurotoxins that we've been talking about. It increases neuronal growth, how fast your brain grows new neurons. The more you exercise, the smarter you get. And it strengthens the hippocampus, which is the memory and learning part of your brain. Okay, one of the things that I just read in a book is you learn better when you're physically active. So what do we do? Because look, I had an hour of PE in school. Hated it, but I had it.
Right.
And then I had recess in school.
Yes.
And then I went home and rode my bike all over creation. But what do we do now? Sit down and read. Well, you're not learning. You're actually hurting the brain if you're taking away exercise. Exercise makes you learn better.
You need recess.
You do.
Yeah, kids need. I mean, well, we all do. That's why, you used to get a 15-minute break at work, right? I mean,
Well,
it
and
used to
there's
be-
a lot of days that as I'm trying to process the last week that I've been putting this together, there was a lot of times I just got up and walked somewhere on campus because I needed time to reset everything, get the blood flowing and get everything going and have some time. That exercise, okay? And look, here's a minimum. 20 minutes of continuous activity, okay? That's your minimum, 20 minutes of continuous activity. And look, if you can't do but 10 minutes, then do 10 minutes. And tomorrow do 11 minutes. And then the day after that, I read a story of somebody that was this really great American marathoner, female marathoner, and when she started, she would only run at night in a hooded sweatshirt because she was so embarrassed she couldn't even run around the block. And then the next thing you know, she's whipping everybody in marathons.
Wow.
After the fact, because we got to start somewhere. And look, you can be in a wheelchair and exercise. I've seen guys do it. You can lift weights. If you want, what do I need? Ideally, you want to do strength training, you want to do aerobic training, which is like the cardiovascular, and you want to do flexibility, okay? Because flexibility is important. You need, so you don't hurt your back and stuff like that. But just do, okay? Like Nike says, just do it. Do something. Get out there and walk, and multiple people. Okay, walking is phenomenal. But think about it. In the Bible, how did they get everywhere they went?
They
walked. When we invented cars, now we don't walk anywhere, right?
Right.
And we're not getting the exercise we need, and it's killing us, literally.
And I think the other thing in schools, our kids are not having recess. No. I think that to me is a big thing when I hear that they would rather them be sitting and reading, have a quick lunch. I heard this last year. I don't know what they're doing this year. Have a quick lunch, 10 or 15 minutes, and then be sitting right there reading. I was like appalled. Why wouldn't you get up and get outside or walk around or do something? It's tough. And it's tough when we put these constraints, I think, on our children. And futuristically, we're teaching them that exercise is not important. Yeah. Now, there are plenty of kids that are involved in sports and everything. That's a whole different.
But it's a minority. It's not the majority. And the ones that are having the attention problems and everything else need the exercise more than anybody else.
Yeah. Well, you used to go outside and run around, you know, for 30 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever it was. And so I think that there are. Well, let's talk a little bit more about what else. We've got the exercise, the nutrition. Do you think we need to test
so basically, here's the thing. Here's what I want you to think about. Packaged snacks, okay? If it sits on a shelf and stop a minute or spinks, and it's shelf stable, it's probably not food anymore, right? These little and they can say that they're keto friendly and they're this and they're that and made out of all natural, but it's not natural anymore. I mean, pull the bar out and look at it. What food is that? Packaged snacks, sweet drinks, ready-made meals, and artificial sweeteners are all linked, now here we go, to insulin resistance, inflammation, poor blood flow, cognitive impairment, anxiety, and depression. New study out of Australia that just came out. A 10% increase in processed food for people who were eating a healthy diet. They were on the Mediterranean diet we're going to talk about. When they had a 10% increase in processed food, which is the equivalent of one of these little bags of chips per day, they had lower attention scores and higher dementia risk from a pack of chips a day, and they were eating a healthy diet. I always get tickled when people say, well, I'm on a diet, but today's my cheat day.
Yeah, right. I love that, yeah.
No, it's not, okay? Because you're all you're doing is reinforcing bad habits. So you got to change. And people are like, well, I don't want to eat healthy because it doesn't taste good. Well, you know what? When you've gone a couple of months eating healthy, the stuff you used to eat tastes horrible.
Yeah.
My kids were like, Dad, it's my birthday. Will you have some birthday? And I took a little piece of birthday cake, and I'm just like, oh, it's like a sugar bomb. And your body will change, but as long as you reinforce bad habits on your cheat day, it's going to keep going. So here's the thing. Start by replacing one processed food a day. Okay, what's one thing I can cut out per day? Start little. Okay, little goals. Big goals you can't do. Little goals you can do. Here's some things you can do. Black coffee.
Oh, no.
Black coffee reduces dementia risk and diabetes risk and cardiovascular risk.
Well, I'm done.
Black coffee. But here's the interesting. Decaf coffee does not. Go figure.
Right.
Black coffee reduces dementia risk. Pomegranate juice. Okay, a normal serving of pomegranate juice helps clear toxins from your brain. Okay, so if you're worried about toxins, get a little bit of pomegranate juice. Okay, raw walnuts. Okay, not the cooked ones, but and I get mine on Amazon, and they're look like they just fell out of the shell. They're phenomenal. They're so fresh. Raw walnuts reduces your dementia risk. It also, Harvard did a study, it reduces your cholesterol. So, see, you're getting double benefit from a lot of this. But what I said, eat food from a farm. Okay, go to the farmer's market. Get you some stuff and eat it, okay? So
don't just buy it. Actually
you got to eat it,
it,
okay? So, and don't deep fry it, okay? A deep fried vegetable is not a vegetable anymore, okay?
Come on,
right,
Anthony.
Look, if two diets that I'll give you, you can look them up online. Mediterranean diet. We've all heard it. It works. It's proven to work. And then there's the MIND diet, M-I-N-D, all capital. I think it came out of Harvard or something. It's basically a modification of the Mediterranean diet that's specific to Alzheimer's. You can look those up and do what they think. And here's the thing. Small choices done consistently can change your brain. But that's the key. It's got to be consistent. So now we've hit exercise, nutrition, and sleep. And Ann can do her first and second sleep tonight. So let's talk about lifestyle factors here, okay? So things that are harmful, unmanaged health issues. If you got a health problem, you need to go get it fixed. Every organ in your body supports your brain. If you got something wrong, your brain is not getting the support it needs, okay? Stress. Substance use. Okay, nicotine, alcohol. Okay, now they're saying no level of alcohol intake is safe. Okay, social media overexposure
I
is
think
very
there's a lot
bad.
of people on that.
Okay, here's another one: isolation. Isolation is really bad for your brain. And loss of purpose. When you feel like you don't have a purpose, these people that just sit around, they have no job, and they're just collecting, that is very damaging to your brain to just sit around with no purpose all the time.
Seniors, the same thing happens to.
Yes.
The senior that lives up the street and nobody visits, no family, anything. Yes.
Yes, very, very. Think about it. We don't, but in Vietnam, they broke our soldiers by putting them in isolation.
Yes.
So here's some beneficial things we need to do. New learning. Not, okay, so people say, well, I go to church, I do a Bible study. That's not new learning because you've already read it once. You need to learn something new. Okay, learn a new language. Learn how to cross stitch. Learn something new that forces your brain to form new neural pathways. You are to always be learning something new. Like when you finish your mental health class, then you should take a brain health class. Okay, you got to always be learning something new. Reading an actual book. Not a Nook, not an online, book.
You mean you have to read it? You can't listen to it?
No, you need to read it because reading and moving the pages stimulates multiple things across your mind that actually make you healthier.
Isn't that the same thing that they say, if you write something down, you remember it better than if you type or you text it in or put it on a device?
Memory is the right side of the short-term memories in the right side of your brain. Language is in the left side of your brain. When you write something, you transfer it across to the left side. Guess where memories are stored? Left side of the brain. When you sleep, memory goes from the right side to the left side. That's what it does. That's what REM sleep does when you write it. So we have our clients journal because it is taking trauma memories and filing them over here to where they can now put the pieces together. Writing is really important. When I was in college, I just took notes.
Right.
And I had it. Because I took notes. When I did this class, I took notes. I got a binder full of notes.
You didn't just turn on a recorder and say, yeah, I'll listen to it later.
Because writing it activates both sides of the brain.
Right.
Okay? So typing it on a Chromebook in a school classroom, I'm not getting it. Writing, taking notes activates both sides of the brain.
Well, I think the other thing that happens in that, your brain, you are engaging with what's happening because you're having to make the decision what to put in there, what to write down.
Yeah. See, you're activating multiple domains. Okay, so community involvement. You say, well, I'm retired. Okay, go volunteer somewhere. Go find something that you can volunteer to be involved, because that gives you purpose and it gives you relationships and all of the things we're going to talk about. Yeah. Gratitude. Okay. If you always see the negative, you reinforce negative pathways in your brain, you become a grouchy old person. If you see the positive, it reinforces. If you are thankful, you can't be thankful for stuff and be negative at the same time. I'm sorry.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Gratitude, being thankful, going to bed at night and say, you know what, God, thank you for getting me through today. Okay. When somebody gives you, thank you very much. Okay.
Right.
I go to Chick-fil-A. I'm tired of hearing my pleasure because I tell everybody thank you, but but that's being great. Okay, here's another one. People don't think about nighttime fasting. Okay, you should try to go 12 hours at night without eating. Americans are horrible at this. We got to have that fourth meal at Taco Bell. When you fast for 12 hours at night, it enhances your brain's ability to clear toxins, and it also allows your intestines to repair damage in your intestines. If you're eating at night, it can impact your sleep, but it's not allowing your brain to clear. Fasting at night is actually good, and then we talked about 20 minutes of sunlight. So we're over and we're still going. Okay. So relationships, and this one's pretty easy. 80% of your brain is shaped by relationships. Okay, Loneliness is a neurological stressor. It creates stress, which creates all kinds of problems. There is nothing more crucial to our long-term welfare than the quality, not quantity, the quality of our face-to-face relationships, okay? Face-to-face produces higher activity and better engagement than online communication, okay? Because I'm sensing, as we're talking, you're sensing my body language, I'm sensing yours.
Yes.
I can detect your feelings. You ever notice online it's really hard to tell what people are really feeling?
Absolutely.
Because your brain is not getting the same cues.
I'd rather interview somebody person to person
Yes.
than do a Zoom call or a telephone
Yes.
because I can't really tell
Right.
that much. Yeah. it's
See, and
harder.
your brain needs that. That is
Right.
very important. You have parts of your brain that do nothing but body language. You have parts of your brain that mirror. See, you just reached and grabbed your drink, and I immediately felt thirsty. Mirroring neurons. Because my brain anticipates, oh, you need a drink. Because I watched you grab your drink.
Right.
Mirroring neurons. See, we mirror behavior.
Right.
That's what connects us, face-to-face communication. Okay? I watch my two dogs do it. They lay exactly the same way everywhere they go. They're hilarious. They're like two peas in a pod. Whatever the older one does, the younger one just does right along with it. Mirroring neurons. Relationships are really important, which then brings us to faith practices. And here's one people don't realize, churches don't realize. Across multiple studies, faith community participation is linked to less cognitive decline, delayed progression of dementia, less neuroinflammation, less depression, and better cardiovascular health. It's almost like the God who created us to worship. Strange thought. Okay? But here's the thing.
Right.
It needs to be in person. So I hear people all the time, well, I'll go to this church online.
Right.
That ain't going to church. That's watching TV. It's not the same.
Well,
it's
that's
not
the same thing we had during COVID, right?
Yes.
Where people got into this and the churches wanted to have in person. And yes, that's where that all developed.
But see, what did we say after the pandemic? We have a mental health crisis.
Yes.
No, we have a relationship crisis.
Yep.
We don't have relationships. So my daughter's birthday's on Valentine's Day. So we went to Chili's on Valentine's Day for her birthday. Well, everybody else in Chili's is a couple, and they're all sitting at the table
Right.
on Valentine's Day. I'm like, it's Valentine's Day. Why are you on your phone? You took your wife to dinner for Valentine's Day, and you're both on your phone. That ain't a relationship.
Well, I like the ones that they're all sitting at a table and they're texting each other. They're sitting right there. They could just speak it, but they text it to each other.
See,
Yes.
so it's that's our problem. Your brain absolutely craves a relationship. We were created to live in a tribe. We were not created to live alone.
Well, just like babies, right?
Yes.
Like a child.
Yes,
You know, they
you
want that
have
love.
to have it.
Or they're
But
sitting
we
on a lap.
all do.
Yes.
If we're honest, we all do, okay?
I want to sit on somebody's lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. But look, what do? You have Penny.
Right.
Penny gives you love.
She
you
does.
need see?
Yeah.
And it's but we also as humans we need that human I mean, I love my dogs. So
Right.
I'm with dogs are very helpful. They're an important part. That's why God gave them to us. But we need each other. So and then we also know that the spiritual disciplines improve your brain activity, they improve your brain chemistry, and they actually make your brain stronger. So when we do what we call quiet time, when you spend time alone with God, that actually strengthens your brain. Bible reading and prayer make your brain stronger, but we also now know that Bible reading and prayer also improve your memory, okay? So all of these things that we're doing, and then corporate worship, in-person corporate worship, because what are we doing? Let's stand and sing this song. And what does everybody do? Everybody stands up and everybody sings a song. We're in a relationship, okay? And we're all doing something together. Okay, why do military people act like they act? Because we're in this group. How many people can sit in a Clemson stadium that are all wearing orange and all yelling the same chant. Or do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Or go to Georgia and they're all dressed in red with crazy stuff on, and there's that is a relationship in and of itself.
Well, that's
that
a
you
tribe,
need.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
like a tribe,
But
yeah.
see, that's what you need. Corporate worship is very important. When you're watching it on TV, you're not part of it. Okay,
But what if you have a group? What if you have a group watching it on TV?
Well, but see, that would be
That
one
creates
thing.
the tribe.
And look, it's not so much like at New Spring. I'm about to get my two churches mixed up. At New Spring, that they have a pastor that's off site, but the worship and everything else is all done right there.
Right.
Well, that's okay, because that now we're just communicating information, but the relationship is happening in the room. I mean,
Right.
That's good. Like when you see on Thanksgiving Day and they're showing the football games and they pan to Germany and all the soldiers are over there cheering, watching the but they're all together.
Right.
See that? Yeah, it's
I mean, it's not watching the game so much. It's watching the game by yourself that might be a problem.
But see, it's the thing. It's about relationships. See, and faith practices are, because what did Jesus say? I'm supposed to love God and love the people around me. There's a lot of depth to this, because we were created to have a relationship with God and with the people around us. And we need it. Our brains crave it, and if we don't have it, that's why these faith practices are so important, and they make us stronger, and they lower depression and all kinds of negative outcomes.
So we're destroying ourselves.
Yes, very much so.
And so the brain is just imploding, literally imploding.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what's happening, but that's like what you're saying, because we're destroying ourselves by staying on the phones, by making isolationist decisions. I'm not going anywhere. I'll just stay here by myself. Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, look, I'll tell you a funny story. So my kids and I, we all play Fortnite. This electronic game, right? My wife hates it. One of my daughters hates it. And they're like, y'all are always playing Fortnite. But we're playing together. We're like all sitting in the same room. We're all on the same team. And we're playing and we're talking to each other and working. And I'm like, what's the difference between that and Monopoly?
Right.
It's not, but we're doing it together.
Yeah,
it's
together.
just electronic. Doing things together are what's important. And so you got to find somewhere you can go to do something together, because your brain needs this stuff, and our society is telling you to do all the wrong things, and then we wonder why we're having these problems, because we're not eating, we're not eating right, we're not exercising, and then now my sleep's all messed up, and now I'm overweight. I got sleep apnea, and it's just a snowball.
Cycle. Yep.
It's just, but it can be reversed. Just watch The Biggest Loser. I can remember the early seasons.
Right.
They would have all kinds of health problems. They would lose the weight, and all the health problems would go away.
But then,
But you see what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's the key, is you have to make this consistent. So that brings me to my last point. It's about attention. Attention, what you pay attention to actually shapes your brain. We now know that the simple act of paying attention to something fires neurons in your brain. So when I watch Penny all sweet asleep over here, neurons are firing in my brain going, oh, look at how sweet. Okay? So disciplining your attention is what they call the ignition key to your mind. That's what gets your mind going, when you can focus your attention like an athlete, okay? And you can do things. That's what makes it work. So here's what change requires, okay? And this is in everything. Change requires, number one, a decision to make a change.
right.
Well, maybe tomorrow. No. You need to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to start doing this. Then you have to have the means to do it, okay? If you say, well, I'm going to bike 10 miles every day. Do you have a bike? No. Okay, so, but you got to have the means. So if I need to work out, do I have a place to work out? Do I have some shoes I can walk in? Maybe I need to go to the Y. Maybe I need, because the Y can help you learn how to do this stuff. Okay, And then it requires repetition. Everything in the brain requires repetition. You need to do it over and over. The more you do it, the easier it is to do it. But every time you go back to the old way, it's much easier to go back to the old way. You got to be consistent. You got to stay with it, and it requires time. Your brain does not change overnight, okay? I'm just telling you, you need to plan on about 90 days to where you're comfortable with this. But look, I have watched people I've worked with that came off of sugar. Swelling in their ankles and their feet went away. Joint pain went away because you're taking all the inflammation and all the stuff out of the body. I have watched people's lives change because they do it. But you've heard a quote, but I'm going to give you the reverse of the quote. Where there is no will, there is no way. If you don't have the will to do this, you're just going to keep doing, which is why people struggle with diabetes and Alzheimer's, and they know. Okay, look, I watch clients all day long that know fully well that every time they smoke a cigarette, it's killing them, but they will not take the steps to quit. Okay? And we do it because our body, we don't want to be uncomfortable. Well, guess what? All of this requires you to be uncomfortable. But after that, you're going to find I'm a lot more comfortable, okay, than I was before once I get past the sugar headaches and all of this other stuff that are coming because you're addicted to sugar.
Well, this has been absolutely fascinating. I think some of the most fascinating things is the fact that we can be in control of how our bodies age.
Oh, yeah. I skipped over a quote that was in one of those studies. Let me find it here real quick because I had it in here.
And I think we as people, we don't think that. We think that the thing that is going to has to happen is that we're just going to fall apart, or, well, we've got the marker for dementia. We might as well just go sit down in a corner.
But we think that's inevitable.
That's
See,
what I'm
when
saying,
they tell
right.
us, well, you've got these two markers, and then we go, well, it's inevitable, but it's not. And that's
So
what...
is the question that we should know this stuff? Does knowing stuff make you more likely to say,
No.
"Oh, I'm going to get it"? So
See, that's the problem with all of this. Do you remember the old commercials on TV, The More You Know?
Right.
Well, talking doesn't change. Action, repetition, experience is what changes the brain. You have to do it. Okay, the Bible says don't be a hearer of the word and walk away. You need to be a doer of the word. You got to do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. You
Right.
can't. But here's, out of this quote, this study in Australia, here's what they said. Quote, "You're not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better, and it starts with the next bite."
You're not stuck with the brain you have. So see, we should be telling our kids, you're not stuck with this. Come on now. We can change this.
No, you can.
And really parents should pay attention to this because they're making the future of their children's lives.
Oh, yeah. Because if you grow up eating it like I did,
Right.
it's you. And look, when we give a kid Pop-Tarts and Sunny D, which ain't even really orange juice, when we give them Pop-Tarts and Sunny D for breakfast, and then we wonder why he can't pay attention in school. Well, because his blood sugar's all out of whack, and he's not paying attention. Because remember, the Pop-Tarts are a 10% reduction in the Sunny D, so now you've reduced his ability to pay attention by 20% with one meal. And then we open up the lunchbox, and there's another hit of inattention. See, and this just goes. I mean, look, one of my kids has ADHD. And during baseball, I would tell him, you cannot have Gatorade till after the game. Drink water. Okay? Because if you drink a Gatorade, you're standing out there putting dirt on your head because of the food coloring and the sugar and all of that stuff that messes us all up. Okay? Look, I'll just tell you right now, people look at me like I'm insane. I drink 3 things. I drink water, I drink black coffee, and I drink a cup of whole milk in the morning with my breakfast, because whole milk is proven to reduce diabetes. Not a lot of milk, but I drink milk, and then the rest of the day it's water and black coffee, and then after 2:30 I got to just go to water. That's all I drink. But your brain's 80% water. not 80% lemonade, not 80% Crystal Light drink mix or whatever the little stuff you squirt in there, water. When you put good stuff in, okay? If you have a car, okay, if you got a Maserati, you are not putting cheap gas in that Maserati, right? You're going to put the best gas you can get, okay?
Yeah.
But in our body, we'll just
we don't look at it the same. What the difference? It doesn't matter.
Literally, you are what you eat. Yes. Literally. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but
and that's such an old phrase, isn't it? That's nothing new.
Oh, yeah.
And so these are the things that I think that are so amazing that we've talked about here. Anybody of any age has heard most of this before.
Yeah, in high school health class.
Yes, and so I think that's what's so interesting is we haven't really learned something new. We may have remembered things that we heard years ago, right?
Yeah. But see, we've been tricked. We've been tricked into thinking that the stuff that's in the freezer section is healthy. Now, some of the stuff is. The flash frozen vegetables are healthier than canned vegetables because they're not.
No sodium.
But over here, these packaged meals that I microwave for a minute, they're not healthy.
Right. I agree with that. So I eat but I think I eat pretty healthy, actually. I eat lots of vegetables and chicken and that type of thing.
Well, you know, it's funny because I was working on this nutrition and I started thinking about what you used to feed Gracie. Yeah. And I'm thinking Gracie ate better than most Americans did because you were given. Because look, I eat like today for lunch. I had some hamburger left over from last night, my broccoli and carrots that were flash frozen, and some brown rice, not white rice. But everything's in quantity. It's all portioned so that it's a proper serving size. Because we didn't even get into portion size in America, which is another whole problem.
Right.
So.
Well, Anthony, this has been absolutely fabulous for you to take the time. I hope that some of the people listening will have thought about some of the things they're doing and maybe find some things that they can adapt in what you've said here today. And if you have family members or you worry yourself about would you end up with Alzheimer's, dementia, any of these things, take an active role in controlling your health because you can do it. Your brain needs you.
Yeah. I have watched people do it very successfully, okay? And look, if you don't get anything else, go exercise. It is the single most important thing in all health categories. Heart health, brain health, everything. And exercise, I don't mean run a marathon. Go walk.
Well, that's a good thing about Penny. We walk a lot. Yeah, we got that field out there, and we're constantly out there walking. She'll lay quiet every couple hours. She goes, "Come on, we've got to go for a walk now." Yeah. Makes a difference. Anthony, thank you so much for coming out today. We had a real nice comment. Judy said, "Thank you, Anthony, for helping others physically, educationally, and spiritually. You make our community a better place."
Well, thank you very much.
That's really, really, really nice. And I hope that this will get liked and shared out there so that people will take the opportunity to watch it, to listen to it. It'll be on the website by probably tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. And if you've got more questions, we might be able to get Anthony back here again on some other aspect. What would be another aspect that would be interesting for folks?
I don't know. There's so many things we could. I mean, you.
There'll be something. Okay, we'll come up with something to talk about because this to me has been very fascinating.
About political ads and brain damage or something.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's a big one. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Anthony. All right. That's going to do it for us. This is WCRS Radio right here in Greenwood. Penny has been very quiet over here, as you can see if you're watching. Yes, she's just yawning, going, "This is boring. I knew all this." So anyways, that's going to do it for us. We'll try and see if music's going to play. If not, let's see. Nope, music's not going to play, so we'll just say time to shut down the computer, and we are going to drop the curtain. We're going to say adieu. Thanks so much for tuning in this afternoon. You are listening to WCRS. I'll be back in the morning, so make sure you tune in. It's now time for the news. Take it away. Right. That was great.